If unemployment is a crisis, now what? We are moving from talk to action. Career Indaba Impact Week, the Boardroom Takeover. A 5-day live broadcast activation from 27 to 31 October 2025, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily. Hosted by Career Indaba board members leading Africa's biggest conversations on employment, skills, youth empowerment, and inclusive growth. Bring a pledge, a placement, or a partnership. Catch us live on careerindaba.org and all our social media platforms. Career Indaba, the voice of Africa's labor market. Future-proofing skills for economic growth. Career Indaba Expo and Bootcamp. 15th to 16th of May 2026 is Africa's boldest sector-aligned and solution-driven career development event designed to bridge the skills gap, unlock real unemployment pathways, and future-proof talent across over 20 industries. From the boardrooms of Sandton to the villages of rural South Africa, we are pulling the entire country into one decisive moment to tackle unemployment, close the skills gap, and future-proof our workforce.
So for those of you who are just joining us, thank you very much. It's Dr. Benjamin Sear here hosting Youth Plug. We thank Inseta for that very insightful presentation and talk. But right now we have Miss Khabonina Ramoupi. Yeah, excuse me, my
Ramoupi.
pronunciation. Ramoupi.
No problem.
Thank you so much. Who is Chief People Officer at AECI World.
At AECI, yes.
AECI World. Thank you so much for joining us, for giving us this time on Career Indaba Youth Plug. We are so excited to have you here. Could you maybe give us a little bit of insight into what AECI World does and your role in AECI World?
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Dr. Is it she? How do I pronounce it?
Yeah, it's Sear.
Sia.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a tough name to pronounce, so I'm grateful that you attempted it.
So AECI is a chemicals and explosives company.
Mm-hmm.
We make explosives and we sell industrial chemicals. Our head office is in Woodmead, but our plants are in Modderfontein as well as in Sasolburg, Umbongotini in Durban. We've got footprints in Australia. We've got footprints in Brazil and in DRC. In Zimbabwe, in Zambia. So we do have a footprint outside of South Africa.
Amazing. And as Group Chief People Officer, yeah, so you're not just the Chief People Officer for the region itself; it's for the whole group.
It's for the whole group.
Exactly. You oversee talents across a wide range, of a very complex industry. So, what does this mean practically? Especially in the context of women, youth, rural participation, because obviously, your reach is global, but at the same time, to reach a minority of people can be difficult.
Yeah, so I mean, you've hit it right on the nail. Whilst you've heard me talking about where we are in terms of our site, our manufacturing plants, we do know in Africa where we located, but also outside of Africa. You do need to access some of the skills that may be in rural places, and rural means not being in the urban areas.
Exactly.
So it's quite difficult to reach people there. I think more so because of the technology does not get there, and if it is intermittent, and we're talking here digitally as well. And because we no longer using your post office and sending letters, you're trying to reach people through data means as well. And in those areas, it's not easy for them to access the information that we might have about the skills, about training, about opportunities. So as businesses, we need to think outside of the box in terms of how do we reach those historically marginalized and continue to be marginalized people in the rural areas. So we have to actually come up with opportunities. We have to come up with solutions, not only for them, but with them. So understanding what their problems and their issues that they have to overcome, so that together listening to what they're telling you as this is an issue, and you be coming with solutions that can actually work. So it is work in progress, and obviously cannot just be us as AECI who work. We have to come together with obviously with the CETAs, with other organizations, with the public sector, to be able to get for people to access what we offer, and for them to be able to participate and contribute.
Exactly. I think you hit a very, very sore point for every organization, right? It's how do you get access
Yeah,
to the right talent in the right areas, especially, if you
yeah,
want a broader pool, getting
yeah,
access to the rural areas is especially different, is especially difficult, excuse me. I
yeah.
think a core question that we have, is what have you found to be the best methodologies? Is it career events? Is it online outreach? Do you actually do physical outreach? What how do you spread the word that you are looking for the best talent? I think that is the question.
So the best way, and there isn't one, right? You don't
Hmm.
have a silver bullet. With the problems presenting themselves. Word of mouth works, especially if you have those minds and the sites that you are in. You still have to use print work, to put up posters
Mm.
and career days, to do it digitally on the cell phones. Send out on LinkedIn, on X, on every other platforms, particularly the youth that you want to get in touch with. Everyone is now having a cell phone, and
Yes.
so you have to use all of those means to get the messages across. But also, you have a capped audience being our current employees, and we have to use them to be
Mm.
able to reach the people that we want to reach. Some of them come from those communities as well. So, a simple response to that is use every means necessary to be able to get to the skills that you need, including talking about bursaries, opportunities, about internships, all of those means that one can, for those people to be able to know about what we offer, and the talent they have that we need as AECI.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think you placed there. There is no silver bullet, right? A
Yeah,
hybrid approach is needed. You need to
yeah,
use multiple platforms. Um, I think the problem is twofold. Like you said, the
yeah,
problem is outreach from organizations, and at the same
yeah.
time, proactivity from the youth, from people
From
who
the
are
youth themselves. Yeah,
to actively seek out these opportunities, right?
yeah,
It
yeah.
cannot be a one-way street.
No,
So there are structural, excuse me, there are structural barriers here that
yeah,
sort of, cause this break in communication. I think what you mentioned here especially is because there is such, your organization has such varied positions that are available, and also varied skill sets, right? From
yeah,
chemicals, from to the HR function, to the finance
yeah,
function, all this. Do you think opening up remote possibilities, because the core concern here as well on the rural side, going to the urban side, is that is having to relocate completely, right? So
Mm.
do remote opportunities open up the bigger possibility for inclusion, or do they hinder it?
No, definitely. As I said, it's to think outside of the box.
Yes.
The biggest barriers are often invisible, and we would hear in meeting rooms, in boardrooms, that we don't have skills. Whereas we do have those skills. Is to look at all the structural barriers that we have that are woven into how society and workplaces have been designed. They're deep-seated structural limitations for our people. So for women, all of those structures come in the form of women are seen mainly unpaid care economy. We still expect them to be the backbone of at home and as powerhouse at work, right? But that's not sustainable. We need
Yes.
policies and cultures that will allow for that balance. And for our youth, that paradox of you must have a skill to get a job, but then I don't have a job, so I don't have experience. So how do we make sure and to come closer to those people? How can we build these digital hubs in the rural spaces for them to be able to have fast internet to access all that's there. And I was even saying to a colleague that we often talk about call centers, customer care centers. We send it to India, to all of those other places. We are in South Africa, we are in Africa. Can we not
Exactly.
have those in the rural areas? Let's train our people and then put in structures that will ensure technologically, digitally, they can access and we can then use them. Then they are able to participate in the economy as well, right? So it is very important to address those structural issues, this technology, those digital issues that these people that the people have as barriers. So and that's our work. Again, it's not only for AECI, it's for our government, it's also for other private sectors, for us to come together and say, how do we make sure we get to them so that they don't have to migrate their skills to urban
Cities.
areas, but
Yeah.
we actually bring jobs closer to them, opportunities closer to them, so that they can also participate.
You put it so aptly, and you hit the nail right on the head.
Mm,
The job sets need to be set in on ground, whether it is urbanite or rural.
yeah,
It needs to be brought back from overseas and kept in house. Bringing the skill
yeah,
set so that the development for the people are done for the country rather than
yeah,
just the revenue building for the company. So I
precise.
completely agree with you. But you touch on a very important point, which I'd like to ask as well, because you know if you allow me, you being a woman, yeah,
Yeah,
and being in such a high powered position, right? I'm sure our lady listeners, our women listeners would like to know as well, how can they get to become you, right? How, because the like you said, the issue here is that policy, the mentality,
mm-hmm,
the culturalism is driven towards
mm-hmm,
having the women as the backbone of the household, and you've
mm-hmm,
managed to break through this barrier.
mm.
So what are the tips you can give to our lady and women listeners to break through the barrier just as you did?
Wow. So, I think the work, um, other than just myself as a woman having to network, having to belong, and I imagine in the rural setting, you have those networks where women come together, whether they are
Mm,
selling, whether it's in stock files or someone. So you tag on someone who might have been able to get out and is in the urban areas. But I think the more work is with companies, in terms of ensuring that we reach out to marginalize, and our policies are inclusive. For us to look beyond just ensuring that we just ticking numbers, but thinking about, as you say, how do we access, how do I get the chance, one, to be hired, to be seen,
Yes.
right? Then be hired, and thereafter is that development, and after that, me being inside there, and again, us having made it, I call it having broken out of those molds and getting in. It's not to close the doors to those people. We must remember also where we come from, and I mean, our country, the world is one, right? We just
Yes.
happen to be sparsely in different places. But do I have to now leave my family and leave everyone behind to go to the urban areas for me to have access to opportunities? And I don't think so. So it is that work that needs to be done to ensure that it's communicated. What are those possibilities? What are those opportunities that people can tap into? And if we are going to talk about me, so while I was born and bred in Joburg, I had to go and study in University of Natal in Durban, but
Hmm.
then have to come back. You come back with a paper. Now I realize it was just a paper. I don't have experience, right? And I have to look for a job. And at that time, it's going through the adverts, but you listen to everything and anything. Believe you not, I started in internship without being paid at those times. You just
Mm.
get money to get a taxi to get to where you need to. And I took that opportunity, and I made it work. I'm not paid. And my mom was starting to ask, okay, you went to university and now here you are, you're waking up every day, you come to work, end of the month, you still don't have money. What type of a job is this that you're not getting paid? And it's basically having that tenacity, that vision of saying, look, I'm getting experience of how the workplace work. And from there you get mentors. And from there you get to be referred. You do the best that you can with what you're given. And you use that opportunity. That door is slow, is opened small, right?
Mm.
You use the opportunity for those people to say, we are keeping her, and you start climbing that ladder. So the work is hard, but you cannot give up. And now in this chair, I remember those people who are like me, who don't know about those opportunities. How do I make sure that they know it? So every little opportunity, let's communicate it. Then we have mentorships, we have internships, we've got bursaries. Like, just be a sponge and absorb and take. Your name must be out there, your CV must be out there. Get hold of those opportunities, and through the sitters like the cheetah that we as ACI belong to, they've
Mhm.
got many opportunities of communicating to precisely, those people who are out there that do not have the means to be able to access opportunities that are put out there for them. So we can't give up. We still have to keep thinking about how do we reach that talent. Because if
Yes.
we have to look at all of those people in these high positions, you will know, they'll tell you, I come from Limpopo, I come from Venda, I come from the Eastern Cape, they come from the deep rural. And you
Mhm.
ask yourself, how did they get those opportunities? So you cannot give up. Everyone, I'm sure, has got someone in their families who's in touch with any of these companies. Let's work together, create those networks to be able to access these opportunities that you would have heard about.
You're absolutely right, and you and your story is so inspirational to our women and lady listeners. We're grateful that you're open to share it. I think this is the core global issue as well. If we take
Yeah,
it global, because you mentioned about the world is one, yeah. I mean, I
yeah,
think about it. I'm from Singapore, and I ended up in I ended up in Switzerland. I've done work in Africa.
Wow.
So
Sure.
it's somehow, it's exactly like what you mentioned, right? The opportunity presents itself, and you cannot limit
Yeah.
yourself to saying, I want to be in this field, and it's this
Mm-hmm.
field or nothing at all,
Mm-hmm.
right? There are
True.
people that do that. There are people that do that. I'm not saying that that's a wrong mentality, but they
Yeah.
want to create their niche in that
Yeah.
specific field. They want to create,
Yeah.
whether be it technology or service excellence or something within that field that makes them stand out. But not everybody is like that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And to expand on that, I mean, obviously, I studied psychology, and you're thinking, okay, what's there for me?
Mm,
And you think about personnel management and whatever. That's not what I wanted at the time. The job that I started, I was a cinema manager at State Clinical at the time,
wow.
because that's what was there. I
Yes.
got trained to manage a cinema. And today I am here. I'm not managing. It's a tough job. You don't have weekends, you're working nights. It's a crazy job. But
Yeah.
that's where I started. That's where I started. And today, those niches, those opportunities came, and I was able to align my degree to where I am today. But that's not where I started. And
Mm,
I think the highlight here, the moral of the story is, you don't get out there and you say, I've studied accounting, I want to be an accountant. That's what I would do. And you refuse to take any other opportunities that comes your way. It's a door that's open and you walk in.
exactly.
And then the door you're looking for, you eventually, and maybe it is you that opens that door. But do not be closed to opportunities that present themselves.
You're absolutely right. I think we echo the same message. You echo the
Yeah.
same message as our previous guests as well, because the skill set that you have now will not be your final skill set. You'll end up expanding it.
Mm,
You'll end up adding to it.
mm,
It ends up being very round. And actually, like you said, even though you studied psychology, you now end up in people management. But the psychology part that you studied, is part of your skill set, which you still use today in a
yes.
certain way in your job.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
you never really lose that skill set. It's just used in a
Never.
different way. Yeah,
Exactly. Exactly.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And bridging on the topic of skill sets, what are the skill sets you feel now are the most essential? Because we try to dig into this with our other listeners, with our other guests as well, right? We talked
Mm,
about AI, we talked about
mm,
we talk about accounting, and then we had a talk with our CEO of Korea in Daba, Kani, and we said, look, actually, forget all those fancy skill sets that are too broad
yeah.
and too
Mm-hmm.
deep. You need to start with we argued that we need to
Yeah.
start with foundational skill sets like
Yeah.
language,
Yes.
mathematics. you know
Yes.
what
Yes.
are your thoughts? Because you currently hire people with obviously very diverse skill sets. What do you feel are the
So
most important skill sets?
so look, I'm not one, and I know we're talking about skill sets that build. For me, it's more about the mindset.
Hmm.
Um, being able to think outside of the box. I always say that, and it's a throwaway comment that people will say that your attitude will determine your aptitude. I
Hmm.
think more so than ever, it's so relevant, because you can have acquire all of these skills, but if you don't check your own mindset in terms of where you're wanting to go and how you're wanting to use it. And then the other very important one, which goes beyond AI, is constructive thinking. I mean, we hearing the lament from the government, from everybody. I'm actually even going to say, even at work, you're thinking, but this is logical. This is so obvious. How is it not obvious to you, right? Those are the basics. We're going back to the basics, but thinking constructively and asking yourself those questions. I mean, it's still relevant. The what, the why, the how, and the where, and the whom. Those are, and we might think it's so basic. I want to think about it. Just don't make this difficult. Okay, just use constructive thinking. What I'm reading, does it make sense? What
Mm.
am I wanting to say? What is this about? Just basic common sense, actually, before you can build on all of the other things. And I think what we've done, we've worked on all of these complex skills, but we don't have the basics. So that means the foundation is not there. What house are you building with a shaky foundation? You don't even understand the paper you are writing in a report, and you're looking at it, you're like, man, what are you saying? What was the question actually? Did you actually think about what is being required of you? It is that simple. It is that basic. And so for me, it's the constructive, just that thinking, and ensuring that you're applying your mind. Okay, don't hurry up to do, and you've just put up something, wasted time, but there's no essence, there's no a structure to it,
Yes.
or even it's you can't even comprehend. You ask yourself, what was I doing? What am I writing? I also don't understand what this is all about. So for me, it's all of those basics, and then it's the culture. What are your values? I think we will stop talking about, or even interviewing people for their skills, because
Mm.
everyone is trying to get education out there. But it's, what do you believe in this world of corruption, in this world of many things that don't go with values that actually build on foundations, and values that not only about you, the ethics, how we want to treat people, how we want people to feel, how we want people to come to work, bring their whole selves to
Yes.
be able to contribute. Because if you don't recognize, you don't see me as my whole self with all my skills, innovatively, creatively, and otherwise, you are shutting me down. I will not have a voice, and I'm not bringing my whole self. I can give you my hands, meaning that you tell me what to do and I'll do it, and I'll wait for you again to give me instruction to do. But hire me for this whole person with the right values that the company would have said, this is our culture code. This is what we want as desired behaviors. Be ethical, be kind,
Mm.
and kindness. I promise you, Dr. Shie, next time we will be hiring people for being kind, not people who are brutal and breaking people. We are dealing with
Yeah.
mental wellness at crazy proportions.
Yes.
People are not able to come to work. They have anxiety. They have all sorts of mental illness because we don't see it. We don't we don't appreciate it. We
Yeah.
don't even say, but you've been off at work for long. What's going on? So it's all of those basics that we need to be working on. Get back to basics before you can build all of those CVs and big things that I'm have a PhD in this and that. The basics, the values, the common sense. Please, can we bring those back? I'm
Yeah.
calling for common sense and
No,
think, please.
no, we obviously hear you loud and clear. It all goes back to the age-old adage that unfortunately common sense isn't common. Which
No,
is sad. And the reality here now is that with the adage of the internet, you get access to you get access to a lot of information. Number one, that's
of
not correct.
information.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
not correct, which is
Mm-hmm.
exaggerated. Lifestyles
Yeah.
that are exaggerated for just
Yeah.
for a picture or snapshot. And
Yeah.
you also get access to a false belief that you do not need a skill set to succeed.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
goes back
Yeah.
to, yeah.
I heard that, and it's worrying.
Yeah,
And I'm not in any way saying do not go and study. Do go and study, because you learn something there. You learn to research, you learn to be able to challenge. And it's that constructive thinking that we're talking about, that you are able to challenge what you see and ask yourself, does this make sense? and read widely, research, understand what it is that you are doing, and be able to compare truth from whatever hype it is.
Exactly.
And we do need to get to the bottom of what is the truth and what is not. Fact
Exactly.
based theory, this very, very important.
Hmm. Hmm. No, that's absolutely right. I think you echoed the sentiment of Kani, myself, our guests, of many of our guests throughout the week. We've been we while we try to crack this unemployment situation,
Mm,
try to crack this
mm,
problem, we realize that it is a mindset encouragement, like you said, building resilience, building
yeah,
patience, and
yeah.
and breaking the hold of instant gratification from participants. It is a tough road, but it's a road that we are passionate about, that we're looking to bridge together with individuals like yourselves, with organizations like yours, to be able
Hmm.
to hold meaningful conversations and involvement with the youth, with the unemployed, to show them that life can be a much better way. Yeah.
Yeah, and we need to unfortunately give our youth better models,
Yes.
right? Not the role models that are out there that have cracked a tender and now have become big boys, and that's what. And we all see, if we are a parent, you see your children thinking, man, this is going to take me long going to university. I just want to do something that's going to make me quick money. And you know what it is about quick money? It's easy come, easy go,
Ego.
right? So you want to build sustainability. And I always say to them, at least get a base qualification, something you can fall back on. Yes, you might have other talents. You want to sing, you want whatever they call it, singing, this rapping. It will work one day, might not work. And at least when you've studied, you can read your contracts, because it's all in the terms and conditions. And
Exactly.
suddenly you've worked so hard and someone takes the money, because what you've done, you went for instant gratification. You didn't read the fine small print, because you thought, I just want the instant gratification. I want to be rich now. I want to be rich today. And you go and sign. And now you have to work for someone for longer to pay them the money that you have used. And what happens to you? You might have fame, but you actually don't have something that you can touch and feel. This, you become a slave, basically. You've made
Exactly.
yourself a slave because you were ignorant. You wanted to get to places faster instead of building up. Build yourself up.
No, exactly. I think you hit it right on the head. And the devil is in the details, like you mentioned,
Yeah.
especially when it comes with contracts. And that's why we need more inspirational people like yourself. One big thing that Korea Indaba is doing, as you know, we're holding our expo soon. Yeah.
Hmm.
We'd love to have you there. We'd love to have
Oh,
ACI
yeah,
there,
certainly.
because we need inspirational people like you to be the front, to show the youth what life is truly about, and not just instant gratification and doing you know just following the latest trends. Yeah, especially
Yeah.
since you built your career from a humble beginning into some
One brick at a
somewhere now.
time.
Exactly,
Yes,
one break at a time. And
exactly. Yeah.
again, I think our women listeners will be so grateful to be able to hear this from you, to understand that there is a way for them. There is
Of
someone to look up
course.
to
Oh,
get to that.
certainly.
Yeah.
Certainly. There is a voice that represents,
Exactly.
and there's someone who's opening the door and holding up my hand. You can come, we can work together. I will let go of your hand once you've got it. But we do pay it forward. You don't
Exactly.
come in, close the door behind for other people. We build these networks of support, of developing each other, of mentorship, of coaching. And that's what this is all about.
Exactly. And again, this policy has to be driven both at I think at three levels. Yeah, the government level, the corporate level, and as
Yep.
well at the people level. They all
Yeah.
need to work cohesively together to make this work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any, is there anything you would like to leave our listeners with? Something that you believe strongly in, that you would like to leave them with?
Yeah, so I think it's important to know that companies are also working. Inclusivity is become a big deal, and for us to work whilst numbers, bringing people together means that you have more voices that would have been marginalized before, but it doesn't end there. It's not a ticking the box exercise. It's to ensure that we move beyond that, because once people are in, it's then you've given them access. How do you make me stay? What are those policies? And how do leaders lead to
Yes.
ensure that this is actually becoming part of a strategy? And how do we measure inclusivity? It's not just saying, we need 10 women, tick, we've got 10, and we leave it there. But it's how do we make sure that we develop them, we mentor them, we ensure that the environment is conducive for them to stay, to build, and to grow. And so we hold ourselves, HR leadership, accountable by putting measures in place and ensuring that there's KPIs. It's not only the numbers, but how many people are staying, how many people are you mentoring, are you coaching,
Yes.
in the organization. And the organization can also be able to tell that story. Each and every leader can be able to account that I've got so many people. This one has stayed for so long, and yes, we can see they are progressing through the organization. So we can't talk about creating these opportunities without actually making them hardcore measures, making sure that they stick. So we bring them, they need to stick. We need to know we are accounting. There's not a lot of leadership taking accountability for what's going on. And we don't need companies that become a turnstile. People are coming in and out. How do we have that conversation to ensure that people stay? And even our youth, and it is scary when you're looking at the unemployment, and the next thing, one is in and the next they are out, and everyone's like, how do I even go through that? What's going on in there? And it can be so saddening and so make
Yes.
you hopeless.
Yes.
And so we are the hope. We are the ones who are inside. We need to build systems that can make this last, but can also ensure that they have hope when they come into the corporate space.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Actually, you now opened up another interesting thing. I find it difficult to let you go. Um, you talked about corporate accountability, and I think this is
Yeah.
the part that everyone is trying to tackle, right? Because corporate accountability, a corporate is a shell. It's made up of its
Yeah.
people. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do we push corporate accountability if even in places where in the developed in very developed economies in the US, you see that corporate
Mm.
accountability is low. Yeah. If you
Mm-hmm.
see Europe, it's low. You see in Asia even, the corporate accountability is low. O- Obviously, I would love to tackle if you do have some extra time. Yeah,
Yeah.
would love to tackle this topic with you.
Yeah. So for me, corporate accountability, I always say that one, if you're not, you can manage it, but you need to measure it, but you also need to reward it. I think as a human race, as human beings, if you don't talk about how it's gonna hit my pocket,
Yes.
whether it's an incentive or you're taking away, I'm not gonna be moved. And I mean, we don't work for work's sake. We do work for recognition. We do work for rewards. So that corporate accountability, and as you have said, the corporate is a shell. You have people there. You have leaders. They do need to be one. You make it part of the strategic objectives of for inclusivity. As I said, It starts with the numbers, and then it starts with who's staying, who have you developed, who you keeping. But at the end of it all becomes a part of the performance measure. Okay, we must talk about how you've performed. We wanted you, this is the metric, but at the end, this is how it's going to impact what you're going to get as an incentive.
Mm.
Unfortunately, if you don't connect those, you we will keep talking about this. 10 years later we're still talking about, and everyone will come with this motherhood statement of we are this company, we are this, we are that, and all of it is sitting in a policy, because it's not lack of policy. I'm sure there are lots and lots of policies, there are lots and lots of statements undertaken about inclusivity, we want diversity, we are this company, we are that company, but how do we make this stick? How do we make this to actually make sense? We need to connect it to our strategy, because if it's in and of its own, people are going to chase the objectives, and this I'll see it when it happens. But if it's part and it's woven into our objectives, and then we are actually measuring them, that's where the magic will happen,
Yeah.
and stops being just something that we say and lip service.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's all linked to strategy and policy, but
Yeah.
what I always worry about is strategy and policy is always words, right? Do you think
Yeah.
an active approach, like setting out a part of profits that is
Yeah.
actively used for this,
Yeah.
is the approach?
The budgets, of course,
Yeah,
because I mean, you know that your budget must follow your strategy. So when
exactly.
it's in your strategy, you have objectives, you have a budget to actually do what needs to be done, and over and above that. So I have created a space for you to actually achieve this. At the end of the year, I'm still going to measure whether you have achieved it, and this will impact what you get in form of your long-term incentives or short-term incentives. So that's why I'm saying you have to bring in performance into it. And
Yes.
it comes through that system. Otherwise, as you say, it's just, stuff that's written somewhere someone can read. But you make it live by KPIs. Let's measure it. And then let's incentivize for it to ensure that we can then account. You said you'll do this. Have you done it? And when you've done it, we recognize you and reward you for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. That's amazing way to think about it, and to actually make an action plan to have it work in the real world. What what
Yep.
what we see, the problem always is this, right? That sales is incentivized more than any other corporate function. And
Of
there's a
course.
reason why.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
everything is sales driven, right? If you look at the
Yeah.
first
And you
line of
can see it in the bottom line as well. Yeah.
exactly. But so
Yeah.
the problem is in a role like yours, or in finance, or in accounting, or in market, even sometimes
Mm,
marketing, because marketing
mm.
takes funds, and says, I'm going to make a marketing campaign, but I cannot tell you what the result is going to be. All I'm going to tell
Oh
you is we
no.
may or may not reach a certain amount of
Oh
people.
no.
Yeah.
Oh
So
no.
how do you,
Everyone has to account.
yeah, but how do you incentivize these people who don't have a P&L, right? They don't have a profit and loss account tied to them. They are
But those
continuously
people,
lost.
those
Yeah.
people, they do need resources, isn't it?
Yes,
They
exactly.
must hire people. So you give them a target. This is when you go out and hire, obviously looking at the profile of the people working for you, and we've got targets. You ensure that you have done this. It's stated. You sign a performance contract. It's in there. So whatever you chase, there's a weighting, and I suggest that this have proper weighting, not your 5%. You're like, if I don't do it, at least my sales, I'll still
Exactly.
get a lot of money. You make it count, you make it painful, then they will chase it. That's what this is all about.
Amazing. No, thank you so much. I think your story is so inspirational. Your what you've said, rings true. I think you echo as well what everyone else is saying, and with even more authority, because you come you're you're 5 times underprivileged as compared to everyone else, if you allow me.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
as a,
And other
e-
that
e-
we don't know yet.
exactly. But in my sense, you've broken so many barriers that
Yes.
you've broken so many barriers that I'm in awe, of you. So thank you so much for your time. We're really grateful for it. We're looking forward to have you at the expo to develop, our
Certainly.
partnership together. Thank you so much once again, and
Thank you
we'll
for the
really thank you.
invitation.
Absolutely, we're looking forward to have you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
The mic is live, the youth are speaking. This is Youth Plug, where hustle meets opportunity. From side gigs to startups, from code to courage, we plug in the next generation to jobs, skills, and power. Youth Plug, Africa Youth Economy switched on. If unemployment is a crisis, now what? We are moving from talk to action. Career Indaba Impact Week, the boardroom takeover. A 5-day live broadcast activation from 27 to 31 October 2025, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily. Hosted by Career Indaba board members leading Africa's biggest conversations on employment, skills, youth empowerment, and inclusive growth. Bring a pledge, a placement, or a partnership. Catch us live on careerindaba.org and all our social media platforms. Career Indaba, the voice of Africa's labor market.